published through Dark Horse with James Robinson as a writer. And it grew out of both of our interests of the fun slasher 80s, 90s movies, Halloween, and different stuff like that. But we're playing around with the concept and having a great time with it.
Very cool. And you're going to draw stuff while we're here?
I am.
So since we're talking mostly about the business and what we're doing, so let's talk about what are you doing right now? What projects are you working on right now, and what sort of problems are we running?
Well, before we get into that, let's tell people why we call it 12-cent Treehouse.
Steve was Steve's idea, and he was going to leave unless we let him have the title the way he wanted.
It's true. He's pushy that way. Apart from the fun alliteration, though, I think he had a really good idea. Like back in the day when I first started collecting comics, they were like 12 cents.
Right.
And then when they became 25 cents, that was a problem. And then later on, when they came 50 cents, that was a real nightmare. Because all my purchasing power it was my first experience with inflation, and it really rocked me. But so yeah, we're going to talk about how to make comics, what we like about comics, what we don't like about comics, and then also thanks to Shaun, who has a lot of film and screenwriting experience, we're going to talk about storytelling in general and writing screenplays and how to make a good story and tell a good story. Yeah.
Scott, what are you working on besides the drawing you're doing, which it looks like magic the way you do that shit? But.
I'm starting off with just the general proportions and drawing of a head right now. I'm going to make it into something in just a minute. What am I working on right now? I am working on some Kickstarter stuff that has not yet been released or announced. I am developing more Patra stuff with James Robinson. I'm all over the place. And I just finished a story for Dark Horse that will appear next year. I don't think it's been announced yet. It's part of an anthology book for some other characters and stuff going on, not the Patra stuff.
So 2027 or 2026?
No, it'll be out 2026. I think
okay.
By summer.
Okay, cool. I just finished a draft of a rom-com that my management company, my literary managers, Gravity Squared, wanted me to write, and turned it in, and I'm waiting on notes on that, which is really the worst point of being a professional writer and a screenwriter, is even if it's somebody you trust and you know you're going to get good notes from, it's like this happened to be a project that I really became involved with, and it's called Romeo Sucks. And it's about
a fun title.
It's about a bunch of TV people who get sucked into doing a stage production of Romeo and Juliet, thinking it will change the directions of their careers. And there's 3 romances going on in it. And it was hard. It was hard to write. It was hard because I did a production of Romeo and Juliet when I was much younger, and it brought back a lot of memories, and a lot of memories of the fun, and a lot of memories of the not so fun stuff.
Did you do it like, was it a big stage production or a small stage production?
It was college production, but it was a main stage production. So it was a big set. It was I played Mercutio, Romeo's friend who gets killed in the third act, and I made my entrance on the second floor level of this, and the fight goes on, and I had to jump over a balcony and hit the stage and go right into the fight.
Yikes.
Which was hard on the knees, and during the first dress rehearsal they had me wigged. They had like this Prince Valiant wig on me, and I hit the stage and the wig just went down in front of me, and that was the end of the wig.
Is that the only Shakespeare you've done, or have you done more Shakespeare?
No, I did Midsummer Night's Dream, and I did a touring production of Richard III.
Nice.
Where I played Hastings. It was a summer outside tour, which was
I forgot you'd done so much acting. I thought you did a really great job in your short film.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. So, Jeff, what problems are you running up against with any? I'm also working on projects with these gentlemen that we'll talk about later. Jeff, what problems are you running into on any of the work you're doing? Is there anything you're having trouble?
I think no. I mean, everything on Rogues. The only trouble I have is balancing the work I do on Rogues and because it pays when we sell the book, but as you know, a Kickstarter takes a while to become super profitable. So timing and making sure that I'm able to get enough hours in to do that work while still doing other work, I think is the juggling has always been
Right.
the hardest thing for me to do. Switching back, changing hats takes me forever. But creatively, there's not like it's all great. That's all a lot of fun, and I feel like I have a pretty strong handle on that. I do think that trying to figure out how to, you know, the balancing you always do between what you want to do and like the fantasy that you want to draw, and then what you think people might want to read and see, and how to tell the story in the best personal way that's also something that's marketable. I think that balancing act has always been tricky for me.
So what, I
And
don't.
it just continues to be so.
What is it about that? Because is there things like is it the difference between just like I want to draw something really cool, or I want to draw something really cool, but it's not going to fit into the panel structure I need to do for the story to move forward on these pages?
I think the fundamental storytelling is a math that I'm pretty good at figuring out, but then I think the part that's always the trickiest is like, it's the amount of choices that you have when you're trying to figure out how to tell a story, like paring it down to like, okay, this is the one I think tells the best story, and then trying to make it the most interesting. I suffer from putting things in boxes too much, I think. And so trying to get out of my own way and make it more interesting is always the artistic challenge. Is like, well, how do I make this boring John Shooter style story or Shooter style story more interesting on the page? Making the page interesting is always the challenge, I think. Scott seems to do that pretty good. He's able to think outside the boxes.
Boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott. So how do you feel about boxes and what kind of things are you running up against? And is Jeff like closing boxes around you? Does he like bring in old refrigerator boxes and just dump them over you while you're working?
It is my favorite toy. Like I like making.
Since Jeff was apparently raised during the Depression.
We're old, but we're not that old.
Yeah, not quite.
What I'm running into most these days is drawing new characters or characters of my own creation, like Patra and some of this stuff, where I just want to make sure I get, the characters right. I don't have 50 issues of Fantastic Four to, rely upon the Jack Kirby's and the Ditko's or Buscema's, Ramitas, whatever, all these guys, Gil Kane, to have worked out half of these problems before me.
Right.
I've got to sit there and go, okay, I need to do like 100, 1,000 drawings of this character on a side while I'm piecing this stuff together, so that my hand will find hopefully that right rhythm with the book, the character, the tone of the story, whatever it might be. Because we don't have that time anymore. When I went on Flash or even Avengers, any of them, it usually took me like 3-4 issues to feel like I had a handle on what I thought the book was supposed to be, at least my version of it. And with all these new miniseries or side little projects you're doing, you don't have that time. You don't have that quote unquote luxury, although I think it's just a basic need.
Yeah. So is it difficult? Is part of it difficult just to make the character look the same regularly and differentiate them from the other characters? Because I have the same problem with finding a character's voice.
Yep.
It's like I either hear the character in my head or I don't, and I don't want to go into God bless him because he's a tremendous talent, but I don't want to catch Aaron Sorkin disease where every character sounds exactly like Aaron Sorkin.
Which is one of those natural problems. It's like comic book artists drawing stuff when we have our, general heroic face or head, or we have our female form that kind of conforms to most of the characters you might have out there. It's hard not to come up with just that the typical version for you that seems to work the best with how you write or how you draw or how you do your things. And being able to, like you're saying, to keep each person with their own voice, each character with their own physical attributes that are going to hopefully play them well and play them unique.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. When we grew up, there were guys, who were really successful, like Kurt Swan, and to a certain degree, John Buscema, I think, and Kirby had almost a stock heroic figure. Yep. And they didn't deviate from that very much. And Spider-Man, who I believe you're drawing there, was
Yep.
one of the first that like came through and like looked different. And I remember being a kid and reading a fanzine. So kids before the internet, we
Yeah.
had these things called fanzines, and they were magazines that were fan made, and they'd be printed up. When you got on the subscription list of one that had the Xerox, that was you were in the top thing.
Right.
They were made of paper.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
real tangible things in the world.
And they'd come in the mail, and you'd get really excited about it because you were 15, and the girls weren't talking to you. So that was.
And you
what
had to
when
wait.
you got home. Yeah. And you couldn't. There were interviews with creators, and it was astonishing because I remember reading a Legion of Superheroes fanzine with Dave Cockrum talking about when he took over and designing different costumes and designing different bodies for the characters, and thinking this character
Nice.
needs to be bigger, this woman needs to be smaller breasted, this needs to be that. And I remember just going and exploding that's what you thought about. Because with Kurt Swan, God bless him, he was a huge fan of Kurt Swan's Superman, but every superhero looked the same for the most part.
Yeah, Kurt Swan was great. Obviously, he was great. But like when it came to making different characters, different body types, I think Perez was probably one of the first people I noticed where like, oh, everyone's a different kind of body.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
He made
and-
tall people, short people, wider people, thinner people, bustier people, skinnier people, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. His group books were often like that. And they were great for that factor. They were really awesome.
Yeah, Cockrum did that too, and Byrne did it to a certain degree, and even Frank Miller would. He sort of had a standard. It was almost like a Harvey Kurtzman meets Ditko sort of build for Spider-Man and Daredevil. But after that, all bets were off. And,
Right.
I remember reading The Dark Knight Returns for the first time, and just the idea of this huge blocky Batman was insane.
Yeah, finding the character's voice or their visual vibe is one of the things that, like, even so, I had this embarrassing moment the other day where I was drawing my own character, but I didn't feel like I was drawing him right. And it's just that moment where, like, oh, this isn't just my version of the character. This is my character. I get to draw him. Like, I'm the only one who decides.
Right.
But I still had that almost that imposter's complex syndrome where like, oh, is this the best version of this character that I can do right now?
And
Yeah,
that's the thing is there's such pressure now for that kind of thing.
Really? Is there? Are there editors and people asking for that?
No.
To me,
Not
it's
for my
just the
character.
idea that, you don't get 3 issues or 6 issues to get good at the book. You don't get those time to
Right.
really get your feet with all of it. You have to come out of the gate with the first pages, whatever else being the most iconic pages you've ever drawn of the character. To my mind.
Yeah.
I felt that when I did Star Wars a long time ago. I felt like it was actually easier to draw the likenesses than it was for me to draw when I worked on Justice League to draw Superman. I felt like I got a much better Han Solo than I did a Clark Kent.
Do you think that might be because how old were you when? Never mind. You were young when Star Wars came out. You think that might be because that was there and that was sort of because I'm like that too. It's like that thing, and I don't even like the movie anymore, but it had such an imprint on me.
Right.
I'm probably gonna get lynched for saying I don't like Star Wars.
I was about to say, what's going on over there, Shaun?
which-
He's up there, Pally.
Which one? Which Star Wars? Oh, let's not get into it. Let's just be fun and have a good time on the first episode. So you're writing a rom-com. Do you feel it's hard to code switch between like action adventure to rom-com to mystery? Is there a problem, or is there a difference when you're writing those?
No, because I like them all, and the problem with the rom-com, I grew up wanting to write comedy. That was what I wanted to write comics, and I wanted to write comedy. I wanted to do a sitcom. So the comedy, and I did stand up for a while too. So the comedy, and it's not the com's not the hard part. The rom is the hard part. But what really happened was
we all.
You said a mouthful there, Shaun.
Yeah.
Well, I've been with my partner for 8 years, so I figured something out.
You got that going for you.
The hard part was I knew I wanted sort of like a Love Actually sort of thing where there's 3 stories that all sort of like dovetail into each other. and I wanted to have 3 different romances that balanced. I wanted to have a gay couple, an older couple, and a younger couple. And I wanted the younger couple's relationship to be the real driver of the plot, and the older couple's relationship to sort of take this sort of like almost mentor thing, like, look, this is how we screwed up our relationship when we were your age, so don't do this. But what happened as I was writing it was that I kept going back to the older couple and the gay couple, and the younger couple who I thought were going to carry the thing sort of faded into the background. And I just put it away for about a month, and then I finally just decided to let the characters take me where they're going to take me, because that's what happens sometimes. You have a really strong idea,
Right.
And I usually start with a script with an image, like the thing that Jeff and I are working on. The image, it's called Pests, and it is, we're not going to give away the farm because it's been seen by a bunch of people, but it's about an animal control officer in a world where dinosaurs never went extinct. And
cool.
Idea came to me was it was an image of a man in a like a Terminex uniform and a woman standing out in front of her house, and there's just a huge footprint in front of the house, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, you got tyrannosaurs, they're a problem."
Yeah, it's a good hook.
That's fun.
And once I get that image, it goes. So I had this image for the rom-com of a Romeo and Juliet play going completely wrong, of a moment in the fight when someone loses an eye and stuff, and then I had that, and I knew I had to get there, but the different characters had different things to say and had different ideas about the story, and you sometimes just have to let them go, let them do what they're going to do, and then see how it works out later.
Yep.
It's an interesting part of the creative process when you're dealing with, a world that you're inventing. Sometimes it does get away from you.
Yeah, and especially you find little side stories and stuff that you want to follow more than you want to follow the lead characters.
Yeah, it's a joy, but also it's kind of freaky. You're like, oh, I thought I was doing this thing, and now I'm doing another thing.
Yeah. Do you guys ever get to the point to where it's like you're afraid you trust some instinct so much, and you're afraid that instinct's just going to go away?
Yeah, I always when I wrote my How to Draw Fight Scene book, I felt that way because I kept really trying to dig down deep into what I was thinking and why I was doing stuff, which was educational, but I felt like I was taunting the magic in some way, and I didn't want to to upset whatever subconscious processes I was using, but it was fine. It worked out, I might say.
I saw an interview with Elton John once where he talked about, Bernie Taupin just hands him a lyric, and they said, "What happens?" And he goes, "Well, I just read the lyric and I sort of hear the song." And they said, "Well, how does that work?" He goes, "I don't know. And after a while, I decided I probably shouldn't look into it too much. I should just read the lyrics and hear the melody and write it down and just trust that it's going to work."
Yeah, that's definitely the thing. Do you like when you get stuck? I'll go to sleep. That's how I handle that. I'll just take a nap and then let my subconscious work there. Do you have any tricks for when you hit a snag?
I just sort of push through it. Sometimes I'll jump to a different scene because I know I don't like to outline stuff if I don't have to. But I do have a general idea, and I just go and start writing another scene and see how that works.
Cool.
Scott, what about you? Do you ever get stuck and just jump to something else, or take a nap like Jeff? Or
I'll take a nap and drop a bat.
Coming out right to the anatomy perspective or whatever is at work. Sometimes I muscle through it and I just keep drawing. Sometimes, you can keep drawing, but you have to like throw away that piece of paper you had. It's gotten all the bad mojo in it at this point, and you can't fix that bad drawing that just won't be fixed. But yeah, there's other times when it's like, you can beat your head against the wall for a while, or at some point you go like, oh, nope, I'm going to go do the dishes. I'm going to go take a walk with my dog. I'm going to do something, maybe take a nap, whatever it is, and then come back to this a half an hour later. Or you could, if you still are like under tight deadlines, I would then skip to something else if I knew another page was working well, or if I could also work on thumbnails. If the actual page was stuck on me, then I would go work on thumbnails or something else, but still in the same job, assuming the time was an issue.
Yeah. Sometimes I will just start a new project, and I'm sorry, my standing desk has decided that it's going to move on its own accord sometimes, so I'm trying to tame it while I go. I have a
Shaun, how can you be making these mistakes? We're all doing so well today, making sure all of our stuff is set up right.
We're professionals. Right? We're professionals.
Listen, I have to say, we're
professional artists and writers. We're not professional TV. I don't have a man with a boom over my head.
I mean, that would be great. I've done a bunch of these, and I did the drink and withdrawal one before. That boom is nice. That's right there in the camera. That's Ed Wood style right there. That so far, I don't want to jinx it, but so far, I think as starting to get this thing together, and I'm looking forward to where we go with it. I don't know if we have any people watching at the moment. I haven't checked the chat.
I haven't seen anything. There's been nothing in the chat so far.
Okay, good. So this one is going out into the ether, but so one of the things I think we're going to be fun to have on the show is I want to have a segment where I will talk about artists from the past or comics from the past that I really love and I'm inspired by. I don't have a name for that segment yet. Probably my secret stash, something like that. What segments do you guys want to do?
I was thinking I would talk either about tropes, because I read screenplays as well. I do screenplay. I'm a script analysis for a couple different companies. And I'm talking to somebody tomorrow who's interested in having me come on board as a development executive.
Excellent.
Cool.
So I read a lot of scripts. I read somewhere between 6 and 12 screenplays every week, and there are certain things I'd never, ever like to hear again.
Well, have a quick example.
I never want to read in another screenplay. He walks in the room and clocks what she's doing. You're not you're not Elmore Leonard. It's okay if he walks in the room and sees it there.
Yeah, that's a bad one. One of the ones I find really awful that I don't even know, it's not a trope, it's just something repetitive, is when someone goes, they're trying to get someone to move, they go, 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 go. Just keep repeating go. You see that so often, and I blame Ryan Reynolds, but it's just say, you can say it once. You can just say go, and then have some dialogue that talks about why you're going, where you're going, what you're going from.
But we need to know you mean it, Jeff.
Right. I get it. You said go. It's really intense.
So, Jeff, is there a certain artist you'd like to just throw out now and talk about?
I think so I'm doing a flash drawing. Right. So I think I'll start with
you're going to talk how Scott influenced you?
Well, I mean, it's doing it in sort of honor of Scott. But I will talk about how Scott influenced me. When we had the studio together.
Somebody else, wasn't I?
You were. It's okay. You did Spider-Man. I worked on that too. That was such a subtle. But you see how I slipped that in there?
It's nice that you're in different places so we can't get the slap fight.
Right. One of the things I think is great about Scott and working with Scott in particular, especially in the studio that we used to have with our friends Brandon McKinney, Steve Jones, Chris Shank.
And Chris Shank.
Oh, yeah, I have the same shirt.
You got it on? Excellent.
Oh, that's cool. That's Chris's new project, which I pledged to. It's on Kickstarter.
Yes, by the way, so Chris Shank on Kickstarter. What's the name of the book, Shaun? Can you remember?
No, it's an anthology, right?
Yeah, right. He's having a story
Unknown,
right. Yeah, it's
wow, where'd that come from?
Chris is amazing and has been for decades. But one of the things that was great about sharing a studio with these guys, especially with Scott, is the professional part of professional artist. Seeing these guys just be able to sit down and just start working is something that I've always been impressed by. And whenever you hear about the greats like John Buscema, who would just sit down at his desk and just draw, or Kirby, who would just sit down at his desk and draw all night and produce 6 pages. I've always been amazed by that kind of almost mechanical robotic, roboticism. Is that a word?
Mhm.
So, because I always am much more the foofy, how do I feel about it artist than any of my heroes.
Scott, what would you, if you could talk about anything, what would it be
Yeah,
besides
what's your
Jeff?
segment going to be, Scott?
Well, besides Jeff? Oh,
Yeah,
geez, I don't know.
we Steve's not here to pick on, so
We'll have to save that for the next time.
Yeah.
I guess it would be just a lot of times I think like your kind of do's and don'ts kind of thing. I think it'd be probably smart to keep going over little things like basics and stuff. Like at the start, showing how when you've got this headshot, that what I really did was I started with a ball, and then I added the chin onto it, and then I knew the eye line, the center line, the nose line, the mouth line, and then I attached the neck and everything else after
Mhm.
that. But going over those basics, I think, is important when we're talking about things. We could talk about the difficulties of getting to the finish, but I also think it's important to keep talking about anatomy, perspective, storytelling basics. Is your story working, by silhouette, or can everybody and your mother understand the story, or are you getting lost in the weeds of some really cool picture that's not, communicating what you need to communicate? Because every job has its own requirements, but when you're doing comic books, like the panel and the page and all of that has to serve the story. If it doesn't serve the story, then your readers get lost. And I've had various books I've looked at recently where I'm like, I've got to read this page 5 times to know what the hell's going on. And then I
Yep.
am almost reading between lines of like, well, the writer kind of wrote that, but he drew this instead. And if there's that disconnect, then to me it's just a hot mess, and you're not really making comic books. You're making illustrations or something else.
Yep. I was surprised when because so when I moved over onto at some point while I was on Superman, I started being the guy who reviewed portfolios because I did draw, and I was actually in gifted artist classes when I was a young kid until I realized that I had an astonishing lack of talent. But I understand the basics, and I was surprised at how many portfolios I looked at where they had no clue at what Scott just talked about. Well, it's a circle, and then you add this, and then you build this, and
Right.
there are basic shapes. An arm is 2 cylinders, the fingers are with 10 cylinders, and stunned at people who would come in and try and get jobs and not know that.
I do
Yeah,
think so.
I think a lot of that is born of all the advantages that they have now drawing digitally. That I don't know, pressure or otherwise, but the way of working digitally easily starts to uh, bleed into using too much reference and too many things. So you're just drawing from the reference. You're just working from that. You're not actually building the mannequin or understanding how the form works, so that maybe you can make that photo work for you, even a little bit better, especially in action shots that can look very stiff in photo.
Yep.
You got to be able to push them and do something with them so that they work
Right.
in the static form of a comic book.
Yep. There was a comic artist in the 70s who I admired a good deal, and I won't name, but did almost entirely photo reference, and it was really cool to begin with, and then it very rapidly became a very static feeling book.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I think reference and learning to draw from life is definitely one of the things you have to do to be a successful comic book artist. But it can be limiting if you are constantly searching for a piece of reference instead of just being able to come up with what is best for the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that was
go on. I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
That was one of the first lessons I was kind of taught when I was young. We had a group of us together. We had a comic book club. We had a professional in our hometown. His name was Dennis Jensen. He was an inker on The Flash, as it would have it. And he was having communications with DC at the time, who had actually come near our town because the Comic Buyer's Guide was being was located not far from my hometown. So Pat Bastian, who was working for Dick Giordano, came by our little comic book club with just a bunch of us kids. and she gave us a little chat for a while. And one of the first things she said was, yes, you need to be able to, you can fight for when you do your best and learn all these things. But again, she was also talking about the basics, saying you have to be able to draw feet or hands, whatever else. And it was great the way she put it, because she's, especially back then, it was all about deadlines. She goes, you have to be able to draw this stuff in your sleep, because you're going to
Right.
be tired, you're going to be sick, you're going to be this and that, and the book is due, and you got to get it done by Friday. It was all that kind of talk, but that whole thing really sat into me, going like, oh, I got to be able to draw this whether I feel good, whether I feel bad,
Yep.
whether I'm late or stressed about something. I have to be able to concentrate, focus, and then get this artwork still done, and hopefully imbue with it, because your basics are covered, hopefully then imbue it with as much personal attention and whatever that you can give it during the time frame.
Yep. It always astonished me when I sat down and started to think about like how much work people like Kirby turned out in a week, let alone
yeah.
a lifetime. It's just stunning. Or these guys like I've been reading Johnny Hazard from
great
the
stuff.
40s, Frank Robbins, and there's these pictures in there of Frank Robbins in his coat and tie sitting at his drawing board in the morning. He would get up and go to a studio, get dressed for work and go to a studio and draw all day. And
right.
Especially newspaper strips are like comics, there's a deadline.
Yeah.
Animation and TV are like that. I mean, if we were ever late on an episode of Justice League, there was some ridiculous sum we owed the network for missing it.
There was always a price attached, which I found very helpful working in the studio. Well, actually, I mean, honestly, I found working in a studio system to be, I know some people don't like it, but I loved it.
I know you did.
Yeah. I found the structure super, super helpful. I liked it. I liked it in the studio, and I liked it at CrossGen.
Sometimes the carrot in front helps out. Sometimes the little whip in the back.
Sometimes it's the stick. Yeah, I needed it all.
Jeff came down to the studio to visit Steve. I think Steve was on staff first. And Jeff came down to LA to visit Steve, and it happened to be payday. And I walked into Steve's cube with his pay envelope, and Jeff just looked at it and said, wait, he gets that every week?
Yeah.
And I think that was the moment where you're like, oh, this is a pretty good deal here.
It's pretty great. It's a great system. Getting paid, it's great. I definitely liked it.
I have to show. Well, it was cool. Actually, at that point, it was cool because it was like, I got to get up in the morning. I got to drive shitty LA traffic, but all my friends are going to be there.
Yeah.
It was like being in high school again. All my friends are going to be there, and I'm getting a paycheck on Wednesday.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I do really think that doing martial arts and doing all that stuff ever since I was a kid, being in a class structure and having a hierarchy, I'm definitely comfortable in it. And being in the Army and then being at the studio, I definitely felt it's an environment that works for me.
Yeah. Yeah, you never complained about being in the service. You're like the only person I know who's been in the service who never ever complained about it.
Well, admittedly, I was incredibly lucky. My time was a breeze.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm one of the few guys I know who never had any bad shit happen. I got super lucky. Scott, I mean, apart from a girlfriend, that was a nightmare.
Just saying,
everything was pretty good.
I don't know about Scott, but I know Jeff and I have had some conversations about that. That would be a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
Here's what you don't do.
Yeah. Well, I think so far I like that we've got. My segments are gonna be about like the past and an artist that I liked, and then Scott seems to have a handle on maybe doing some fundamentals and some structure.
Yeah.
And Shaun, you'll be talking about the overall, seems like the tropes and sort of the things not to do. And so for Jones, I kind of want to just throw bombs and see what he does.
I was hoping he could sing a little. That would be nice.
He'll sing. A very good actor.
Yeah, he is. He's
done some Shakespeare.
Yeah, I know, and He and I had Pauly Shore experiences like 3 days apart in LA.
With actually Pauly Shore?
Yeah. I played the Comedy Store, and it wasn't long after Shore had taken it over, and then like a week later or so, Steve was in a pilot that Pauly Shore was in, and so we got to compare Pauly Shore notes.
Wow.
I saw you at the Ice House, right? You did some stand up there.
Yeah, I did the Comedy Store like 2 or 3 times. The Ice House was kind of like where I did most of the time.
Yeah, I liked your stand up.
I used a fake name. So I want to ask a question. So with the artists and stuff, what Scott said about they have so much available to them digitally and stuff like that. Have you noticed like a narrowing of interest and a narrowing of influences on if you've seen new people coming up? Because I saw that.
Yeah, to some extent, but I mean, whatever the decade time is going to be, there's always going to be like the trends that are very popular. I think that's mostly what you're seeing, or what we're all probably noticing, is just that, yeah, they probably do have a lot of the same programs that they're using. So their models in the programs, or their wireframes, or whatever else they're using, can be coming from that same source, which would narrow it down. But I think a lot of it's just like, they're looking for their Jack Kirby or their Jim Lee or whatever kind of thing, who's the forerunner, who's got the most popular style that's running out of that format. And then they're all kind of chasing in that same line of rainbow, which can be fine, and it always happens. But I think it's one of those things where the real strength of any of these mediums, or the stories that we worked on, were the voices that kind of stood out.
Yeah, and I think go on, Jeff. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that I think that it's almost the opposite. There's almost too much available. I think they're suffering from variety overload. When we were kids coming up, you got to pick like, oh, I like Buscema, I like Gil Kane, I like Mobius. This is the stuff I have access to. So the soup was cleaner. Kids now have everything from every kind of comic from all over the world, from every era, mixed with anime and movies and video games. So I think that the individual perspective gets watered down a little bit, and so there's not like their personal personality is not coming out.
Yeah, but what I also see is that they have access to all this stuff, but they're all looking at the same 3 things, and there's not really a very big depth of influence on them. Like when we were growing up, this is where people start calling us Gen X and throwing shit at us. But I mean, we only had like,
we've had stuff thrown at us for so long. It's not going to be worse than like the dirt rock fights we used to have as kids.
Yeah. Oh God, rock fights. Jesus. I was talking to Megan, my partner, about, she grew up in Connecticut. Like, did kids throw snowballs at cars when you were growing up? Because that was a big thing when I was growing up, was just standing in the street making snowballs. And she was like, looked at me like, no, why would anyone do that?
Because we were hoodlums. That's why.
Yeah. What else could you do?
But we had, if you wanted to watch a ball game, if the ball game wasn't on, they put an old movie on. So you watched an old movie, and right. There was a local UHF station in Buffalo when I was a kid. And when they started showing like the old Sherlock Holmes and Thin Man and Charlie Chan movies, those were like superhero movies, because that was the closest thing you came to it, like a superhero movie. So we saw all that old stuff, and I just don't see them doing that now, even though that stuff's really available to them.
It's true.
When I was teaching, I had more than one student tell me black and white movies were boring.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. That is interesting that they won't go back.
Some do, I think. But yeah, I think that is one of the, also with that narrowing of the styles thing, I think that speaks to the age of the younger crop of artists that are coming up. When you have that little amount of time that you've been drawing or living life or whatever, experiencing life and all those things. And I remember being conscious of this when I was a kid, going like, I didn't think I could write stories, this and that. I'm like, I haven't lived, I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
But a lot of these younger artists or whatnot, and hey, everybody's got to take their crack at it. But I think a big deficit of why they have something that's lackluster, or whatnot, is that they don't have any life experience or not enough.
And they don't see. Sometimes they don't want it, right?
No.
Yeah. I when I taught in the theater department. But I also taught television and playwriting and stuff like that. And the amount of when I was in school as a young actor and writer, it was all our dream was like to finish college and then we were going to New York or LA. That was it.
Right.
And nobody wants to do that anymore. And I understand it's a pain in the ass and I understand it's not good, but like, so what are you going to do then?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's interesting that I wonder if when we were young, and I know this is a long time ago, but like I do feel that we were allowed to make mistakes and then just sort of grow from them and move on. Like it seems now that everyone, if you make a mistake or you do something wrong, it haunts you in a way that our learning process doesn't seem to haunt us.
That's true. That's true. Scott, you've got this with the Flash thing. You've got a really cool sort of like Ditko burn thing going on with Spider-Man, and with the Flash thing, you've got this. It's like, was it Butch Geist in the 80s Flash
sure.
and Carmine? You got like there's like a really sort of cool Carmine feeling to that, Carmine Infantino feeling to it too.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's a weird thing where, yeah, depending on which character you draw, certain aspects are going to come out from where the character may have come from, or what I think of when I think of the character. Like, yeah, I do think of Ramita and Ditko and all that stuff when I think of Spider-Man first off bat. And Flash is just one of those that I just kind of, it happened very quickly and very naturally for me, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm known for it more. I didn't have to work hard at all to find my footing on the Flash. But yeah, you try different things with different characters, so they're going to have that different effect.
Yeah, but it's really neat because it's clearly not any of those people, but I see influences in like really the best way. Like you're not copying, it's just influencing the way you draw it.
Cool.
Did you find it was hard for you?
Yeah, I haven't wasted 30 some years.
Well, I mean we're not the judge. That Shaun and I can't. That's between you and your God. We can't get involved in that. One of the things I always liked about your Flash, Scott, is like you had some really cool special effects for him. I like the way you showed his superpower, which I always think is having a visual for like speed or strength or mental. Like you were always really good at that. Do you have a go-to guy you studied, or is it just how do you picture a special effect?
That was an issue for the book. I looked at the special effects of what they had going on. I looked at how they had represented speed in the drawings and the panels and all that. And I wanted to make sure that I added to that conversation and how I did it. So I tried to look for even one-offs of like, oh, that could be a neat idea. Maybe I'll do that, where I would draw the Flash, but then think more of almost like a photo where I'd seen a painting one time of a hummingbird. I think it was this. And the hummingbird was drawn very very painted very realistically, but like super detailed and almost like a cutout from a really dense photo. But the background of the painting was the bushes and the trees and whatnot that the bird was in, but they were all like blurred.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And it had that great effect. So I did that sometimes on Flash, where I was drawing him, in which you normally wanted to do. You want to have the nice heroic pose of him running. And then I would take the background, what was going on, and I would make the outlines of the buildings and the windows or the cars and the tires or whatever. And then in every shadow place, I would put in speed lines or something like that. So you got the idea of what was back there, but not only would it fall back away, so Flash was important and in your face, but also then it gave that effect of that it was speedily going by.
Right.
So it's not just him that's running. You get a good view of him, but you see how he sees the world as going by him.
Yes. Yeah. Which goes into that famous line, whatever, that for the Flash, the world is a life of statues or something like that, because we all don't move.
The world of statues.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My favorite superhero quote like that of all time was Steve Englehart in some interview in the 80s, and he said the suspension of disbelief is not that Superman can fly, the suspension of disbelief is that he hasn't tried to take over yet.
Yeah, that's a good one. What was it? Was it when he fought Apocalypse or Darkseid in his cartoon where he got to cut loose?
It was Lobo was the first one, and then
Okay.
the Darkseid fight was the one where he really just was angry and going after it.
Is that the line where he's like he walks around trying to touch, like the world is made out of tissue paper for him?
Yeah. To him, yeah. It's
who wrote that?
You know, what's funny is, go ahead.
Probably Dwayne. I don't really remember exactly. No,
that sounds like a Dwayne. That sounds like a Dwayne quote.
That's from that quote. I think is from Justice League. The Superman one, I think, was Paul and Alan because it was the Fourth World story.
Mm.
Sorry, Scott, interrupted you.
No worries. I'm trying to remember the point I was going to make about the thing. I think it's gone. I got lost in your talking to who had made those quotes.
Well,
do you guys ever?
I just love the idea that trying to see the world through someone who has superpowers is always a trip.
Yeah, there was a great Superman story in the 70s where somebody stole his powers. It was some weird Kurt Swan, Murphy Anderson guy who dressed up like a Roman emperor or something. But he stole Superman's powers, and he's like, now and the whole house he's in starts to rock, and it falls down off the mountain because he stole Superman's powers, and part of Superman's powers is that he's incredibly dense and heavy, and he uses the anti-gravity thing to be able to get through the world without breaking everything.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Just and even as a little kid, that was another one of the things that blew my mind and that stuck with me about, it's not easy being him, is it?
Yeah, because if he were to, he's always kind of floating. Yeah. He can't ever put his full weight on the ground.
Right. Do you guys ever get into a period where you don't want to look at things because you don't want to be influenced by it, or you just feel like nothing's really feeding you anymore, so you just sort of wrap yourself in your own work or in little things? Because I've been like that lately. I barely watch television. I can't wait for baseball to start again so I can start yelling at the Mets. And I have some television to watch, but literally all I've watched in the past 2 months is snooty theater stuff from England.
Nice. Well, when I started doing animation, not so much when I was doing character stuff and background stuff with you, Shaun, but when I started doing storyboards, I had to stop reading comics because the way you move a figure, the way you frame a shot in comics is just different enough, and the purpose behind the figure and the shape of all that stuff is just different enough that comics were really messing me up. And so I had to kind of stop reading comics for about 5-6 years to where I could then figure out how to build that separate storytelling muscle.
Mm-hmm. Scott, what about you? Because you were nodding before.
When he was talking about that storyboard thing, there was a moment where I was going to try and get these guys advice to broaden my skills instead of just doing comic books. And I asked for their help, and I storyboarded a sequence like a tryout thing or whatever. And yeah, about half of the storyboards that I was laying out to start with were all laid out where they were like comic book panels. Even though it was just, the one box format, but I was laying them out that way, and they gave me the whole speech. They're like, no, you're doing this and that. You're avoiding like word balloon areas or different things like that. And that's not what you do with all of this. You have to place it over here and here, and use this to go that way, or all those different requirements. So even though they're very much, cousins in forms of art for each other, there are different rules because of the motion, because of the way that it's presented to the viewer.
So did you wind up having to put comics away for a while to try and do that, or was there any other time you had to just sequester yourself from pop culture?
I was just distilling their advice when they gave me this stuff. But yes, there are definite times sometimes when I'm gearing up for a project, I'll have a lot of stuff out that I think is informative to whatever that's going to be in mood or actual character likenesses or different attributes that I want to bring into whatever this story is. Like when I was working on Patra stuff, I had a bunch of Bernie Wrightson around me. I had a bunch of Halloween pictures around me. I was looking at different Halloween kind of art, clip art or anything of that sort, just to like really get it all in my head. But then, yeah, once I started drawing the book after the first couple of pages, I had to put all that stuff away. Go like, all right, I'm prepared. I've gotten my,
Mm.
gas in the tank, and my tires have right the pressure and this, that, the other thing going on. Now we just got to turn on this car and go.
Yeah. Yeah, I should put away. I still, when I'm doing rogues, I have a tendency to get lost in Hal Foster. And
Oh, that's awful.
yeah, well, I mean, it's awful when you are trying to draw like Hal Foster and can't.
Yeah.
that's
But John
Wouldn't that
Cullen
be
Murphy,
everyone but Hal Foster?
yeah, John
Yeah.
Cullen Murphy has that problem on the current strip.
Oh yeah, but John Cole Murphy's so damn good.
I know.
It's just,
I know, but he probably sits around and goes, Hal wouldn't have done this.
oh yeah, I'm sure that second guessing must be a nightmare for him. What a nightmare! Can you imagine never follow a better artist? But come on, it's Hal Foster. It's terrible.
I had to put stuff away recently just because it was like nothing was feeding me, and it was all distractions. And I'm trying to write stuff now that other people won't write or don't write. So
Yeah.
I don't know that keeping up on with the Joneses is the best idea for me at the moment.
When you say
Jones,
that other people aren't
ding,
gonna,
ding.
yeah. When you say other people won't write, do you mean like the kind of story that you want to tell, or the format that you're working in?
The kind of story and the kind of story I want to tell and the kind of characters I want to do. I mean, I've always had you and I talked about this briefly with one of the projects we're talking about, is that I've always had this idea that comic books, even superhero comic books, don't have to be wall-to-wall action, and that
Right.
drama works on film, drama works on stage. Why won't drama work on a comic book page? That the idea that just a drama won't work has always seemed alien to me.
It does seem weird. Well, I mean, people used to think that comedy wouldn't work in comics. I mean, comic strips were one thing, like a gag was a one thing, but like, I remember one of the things that
a lot of people still believe that.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, when Kevin
remember,
McGuire started doing Justice League, that was huge for me as an artist. I'm like, oh, there can be this level of humor and human interaction to it.
Yeah, remember at DC for a while, I was known as the guy that does that funny stuff, and that was not a compliment.
Right. Was Aquaman funny when you were working on Aquaman?
It was when I had a comic story I wanted to do with Aquaman, but it was more a tragedy than anything. It was full of pathos and rage. Because I got the book, I was told that never mind. We'll go into Aquaman some other time. We got 5 minutes.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I do think that it is fun to talk about how comics used to be made, because I don't know how they're made much now. I mean, we make them some now, but like back in the day, it seems like there was much more of an artist writer freedom. You had a lot longer rope to do your thing and to kind of pursue your own thing.
Yeah, I was really under the gun, and well, the Dark Horse stuff you and I did was kind of like, can you just get it to us by Friday and we'll love whatever you do.
That was so much fun. That Johnny Quest stuff was such a blast. It was so much fun to do.
Oh, you were part of that Quest stuff? Yeah, that was fun stuff.
Yeah, that was really, really great. Yeah, it's too bad you
Jeff
weren't
drew
able to do...
one of my all-time, probably my favorite thing I've ever written.
The race banning.
Yeah.
That I can't believe I got to draw race fighting race. That was so cool. But even more fun than that was Johnny flying away from a T-Rex. That was pretty great too. Like that's you can't beat that shit.
Yeah. That was that was with the comic book we got away with stuff we didn't get away with the TV series, because we could still have Johnny pull a gun.
Oh yeah,
like that. I did get notes from Hanna-Barbera once, saying Johnny and Haji were fighting a bunch of adults, and the note was Johnny and Haji are children and they will be easily overcome by adults. And I just it was a fax. It was the days of fax that I just wrote on it and faxed back. Have you watched the show?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's still supposed to be fantasy fulfillment, vehicles for kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Johnny took his first life when he was 5. We know that.
Yeah. He's a killer.
There he is.
Smartly done.
That's the Flash. Well, I mean, listen, it's easy to throw in speed like Kirby dots. You just
But it's all
loves
making
Kirby
the
dots.
choice and the right choice, or running with it. Something in your gut told you that was going to work out great, and it did.
Yeah. And you trusted it.
Well, yeah. You always go especially in a show like this. One of the things I like about these is that, and one thing I like about Drink and Draw too, in general, is like I'm not worried about the drawing. I'm not trying to make it great. I'm just trying to have fun with it, and that's when always the best stuff happens.
Yep. I
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, we're reaching the end of the hour. Any last words for anybody? I don't know if anybody's even watching, but if you are, hi.
Hey, hello. Well, I think we're going to do this every week, and we're going to get better and better at it. And I think that we're going to. I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think I'm looking forward to Scott's segment for sure, and I can't wait to hear about more tropes. I know I have tons of things that I find annoying, tropes that shouldn't happen.
I'm very excited to have this conversation. I think the conversation is going to be really good.
Yeah,
and I think it's just a good time. I just enjoy talking to you guys. We'll see if I still enjoy it when Steve shows up, but
I do. Yeah, I think it's going to be even better. Even better. And if anyone is watching, if you guys have any things you want to see, let us know.
And the comments will always be open, and we might even have a snappy opening with some music sometime in the next.
We're going to build. We're going to definitely build it. And so, yeah, I think we'll have topics and we'll have fun conversations, and it'll be fun to share time with everybody.
Oh,
so every week at this time, come join us for 12 Cent Treehouse.
12 Cent Treehouse.
And find us on our socials.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. See ya.